Welcome in. Time for another special here on the SDH network. I'm Jason Longshore. Hopefully you've enjoyed these conversations that we get to have on a pretty regular basis with folks from Atlanta United. We try to go a little past the headlines and get you to know the people that are involved in this club that we cover so much. Let's talk player development. Madison Crews and I had the chance to sit down with Atlanta United Director of Methodology, Javier Pérez, here recently, and we talked about his journey in the game. We talked about how player development as a whole has changed over the years. We talked about his time here with Atlanta United, changes that he has made to modernize the Atlanta United Academy. I hope you enjoy the conversation, and make sure you have Soccer Down Here subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure you're following Soccer Down Here on all your social media platforms. And make sure you've got soccerdownhere.net in your bookmarks. You would have had a chance to get a little bit of a tease of this conversation if you've checked out the website. Enjoy it. We'll have plenty more to come over the next few days on the SDH network. But here is our laid-back chat with Atlanta United Director of Methodology, Javier Pérez.
You know, how's it been? I think really establishing what you want to do with the academy and getting everything going and progressing the way you want it to.
It's been an incredible journey so far. Very soon I'm gonna be here for 2 years, and for me it was clear the vision of moving from a youth club to be an academy professional development space, and that was the intention why Atlanta United hired me in first place. And I had to make a number of changes at the very beginning, you know. And I focus on 3 areas. I focus on number one, the number of resources that we provide to our athletes. From having 1 coach on the field to have now 4. Not always means that you spend more money. It was just a matter of allocating the resources that we have, and the financial being at the driver seat of the budget allows me to do these modifications, you know. So now for all our player profile weight teams, U16s, U15s, and U18s, we have a head coach, an assistant coach, a fitness coach, and a goalkeeper coach, and you can see that impact. The same way as the first team, when you see them, how they are working in separate spaces. It occurs as well with academy, you know. So that was one area. The other area was the education piece. Why it was so important? Because I moved the U16s team into the morning. Now we have the 16s and 18s training in the morning. We have the flexibility of having the school in place here, partnering with AIS, with Atlanta International School, and then that means that in the afternoon we have more time to train, you know. At the beginning of the season, you don't see how much impactful this is, but when we play at the beginning of the season with some teams, and then when we play later on, we see how the gap is getting bigger. Why? Because we increase by 2 hours the training time, and we work on specific technical elements, you know. So more training time, more development for our players, you know. And the third piece, it was the nutrition part. A lot of the athletes trying to work on this still to this day is educating athletes how important is nutrition, and if you don't get involved in this part, many of them, they might come here and they come without breakfast, or they leave and they don't refuel, right? And that means that the next day that you come training, if you didn't refuel properly, maybe you are exposed to injuries, or you don't have the performance that you need. So it's very important to work with our medical and performance department in what kind of foods we provide to our athletes, but as well in how fluids they play an important role. Like right now, we provide right after training. We were providing lunch very early because they start very early training. But now we found a different way to organize their nutrition program. They finish training, they have protein shake.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
They have the first training session, the first class, and then they have lunch. So we kind of allocate better the nutrition of the athletes.
For sure.
So these three areas, they were at the very beginning the ones that I focus the most.
Yeah.
How have you seen kind of the totality, the holistic nature of developing players go in your career? Because I'm assuming when you started doing this, those weren't things that you were thinking about.
Yeah, great question. I always work for world-class organizations, and you learn always from different organizations where I work, but also with the top coaches, top professionals that they surround those coaches. And then over time, when I come here, I realized that I always have to refer to a situation that I had in the past. Or for instance, one of the key pieces, which is scouting, right? That we are focusing now, we are very, very focused on heavy on scouting the right profiles of the players. We every time that we have a situation of a player that I see, that player reminds me of a player that already succeeded and became professional and was a national team player in the past.
Yeah.
So calling references in the past has been a huge asset for me.
I want to ask a little bit more about your background. How did you know you wanted to maybe go down this path, especially when it comes to development and really honing in on developing young talent and getting ready to be professional?
This is a great question because when I started coaching, I started at youth level. I was in Real Madrid for 6 years. Then I worked with the Spanish Federation. Then I moved to the US, worked with the US Soccer Federation. I was the U18 national team head coach. Moved up with Jurgen Klinsmann in the senior national team as his assistant, and then did the World Cup in Brazil, coaching the US national team. And then I moved into MLS. I was assistant at the senior team with NYCFC, and then I head coach the Toronto FC. I took some time to think what was the next project, what was the next thing I wanted to do. And I thought I did the full circle. Yeah. And now I wanted to take a project that we can be a reference in the country.
Yeah.
And why not worldwide, you know? And Atlanta, I had different offers, but Atlanta was a project that it was particularly interesting for me. Number one, for the reach of the club, the resources, the number of fans that doubles the second to most attended games in the league. And number three, and probably that this was the most important one for me, it was the talent pool that this area has, you know. So I didn't know that the impact I was going to be able to make, it was that immediate. But the first season I spent here, we were able to, number one, we were semifinals of the GA Cup last year, beating Inter Milan in quarterfinals. So that means that we finished top 4, you know, and that's 10% top of the competition. And then the other pleasant surprise was the 2 teams that we sent for playoffs. Both teams, they reached the final. We were the only MLS club. that we were able to qualify 2 teams for the MLS Cup final. So immediately we kind of benchmark our talent pool. We set the bar at a high level, and this is where we now find the biggest challenge, which is maintain that level.
Yeah.
Yep.
How would you describe, you mentioned the talent pool in Georgia that the club can reach. How would you describe that talent pool? And when you walked in the door and got to see players from clubs around Atlanta, clubs around the state of Georgia, just what is a Georgia player like in your mind?
That's a great point, and there is one way to describe it: diverse.
Okay.
Diverse.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have the same type of player profile. You have very different types of players, which makes you gives you the ability to select on physicality, to select on technical players, smart players, you know, and from early age groups, we try to find more physical players, physical profiles,
Right.
and develop those profiles into more technical and tactical players.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I was going to ask, kind of in the same boat, what is that process like for you when you are scouting young talent and you're trying to figure out and kind of weed through and doing all that stuff? What does that process look like?
Yeah, great question. As we focus on the scouting part, we have 4 scouts, 2 full-time, 2 part-time, and we have an internal program. It's called Futures.
Yeah.
And that program, they come once a week and they train here. We have reference as well from the youth department that they reference some of these players into the Futures program. And then we have, for the older age groups, we have an amazing partnership with the local clubs. This is one of the most prolific areas in the country in terms of youth clubs.
Oh, yeah.
The director of these clubs, they are open, they understand what is the success path for these athletes, and I have to as well prize the people that in the department, they were prior to my arrival here, and they build these relationships with the clubs, you know.
And that's not always the case in other clubs in the United States. You have friction at times between existing youth clubs who don't want to lose players to the MLS club, and it's a challenge. I mean, knowing Tony and knowing Matt, who are so involved in those areas, they had a lot of work to do to get people on board. It's great to hear that people are still on board and realize how important it is to send guys here.
Yeah, and for me, it's a top priority.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and I think the directors of these clubs, they acknowledge that it is a mutual benefit.
Yeah.
The better service we can provide to the community that they are doing already, and we want to be part of that. We want to ingrain Atlanta United Academy in the community, you know.
Yeah, well, especially because you have so many professionals now who were a part of those local clubs before joining the academy, like Aiden, like Didi, and then even so many of them already were part of these local clubs before coming to the academy. And so I feel like it helps everybody in the sense of continuing to build, I think, the soccer culture around Georgia, but then also I think everyone taking that step, especially in furthering things and moving things forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think as I spend more time here, I'm getting closer to these directors. I'm spending more time. One of the tasks that I want to accomplish is to go and visit these clubs and be closer to them as well.
How do you see Atlanta United's role in helping, whether it's NASA, whether it's GSA, whether it's Concord, all the different local clubs? What is Atlanta United's role in helping them be better?
That's a great question, right? Because I think they have more leverage. I think they can help us more than we can help them, but we want to be that help mutual.
Yeah.
It can be in various ways, right? It can be, and this is one of the initiatives that we had. It was inviting to to the lounge at the club, so they can see the games with the first team, and they can feel part of the club, you know. But other things like exchange ideas with the curriculum, the way we train, or in cases of other clubs that they need a field where to play games, you know. We open the doors, this is their home, you know. All these kind of initiatives, they help, and we want to be connected.
How important is it, because I know you guys had the college showcase here as well, how important is it to involve a lot of the collegiate coaches in the area, to get them involved, to get to see talent, not only from the academy, but also from a lot of those clubs that were invited in to, you know, get to see something like that and working together to help notify talent and get them to their pathway where they need to go as well, because every player's pathway is so different into getting to where they need to go. Yeah,
one of the things that we feel the most proud is that we have 100% graduation rate. So the worst thing can happen, I always have this selling point to parents, you know. The worst thing can happen to your child is that he's going to go to college, and he's going to go to a great college. We have 100% graduate in the club. So some of them, they sign professional contracts with us, and some of them, they just go to college, and some of them, they come back. Like the case of Will Riley. Clear example.
Matt.
So this is an important selling point for them, because is the way we help to develop, you know, and give back to these players.
So with your time in the United States, it's so fascinating to me. Like, I grew up playing in the late 80s, early 90s, and we didn't have a professional pathway. Like, that wasn't ever a thought for me. Now we're 30 years into it being a thought, and it's evolved over that 30 years. How have you seen in your time here the idea of development for youth players change in this country?
Yeah, it's been a huge change. When I first came here, it was 2009. I developed the curriculum for the country in 2010. That was implemented for the DA Development Academy for 80 different DA clubs around the country.
And the federation had never had anything like that before.
Never had anything like that before, and they were talking about it in these meetings about how we get. And these days is different because there's a lot of exchange of information, but back in the day it was nothing. Like that.
At that time there definitely wasn't.
And it's something that helped the country to kind of follow one direction, one path. It was a big emphasis on college and just college. So how did it make an impact in MLS to stepping up, game up, and making sure that the clubs, they have academies, and being responsible of the development of young athletes in this country. It's something that we still are trying to figure out. And this is one of the areas that I try to diversify here. So it's not only professional contract and college. Before it was just college. Now we have these professional contracts. We created the leagues in between, meaning the MLS Next Pro, meaning the USL, even UPSL is one of the leagues that we are using to provide that playing time for players that they are reaching that level of becoming professionals or going to college. And using all these different avenues for me has been critical in order to maximize the potential for each one of the athletes.
Makes sense.
I want to ask just something that I know that I always hit on with SDH as well. It's something that I'm fascinated about, is the mental side of the game. And I feel like it's something that has grown now as exponentially in talking more about it. How have you seen that conversation kind of evolve and maybe become more of a focal point, especially when it comes to developing young players too?
Yeah, that's a great question, because everybody was asking me what is the difference between a Real Madrid player and a player from a different club.
Mm-hmm.
And I always refer to the same thing. It's just the mental aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Why this club keeps winning? It's just the mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Just the mentality, the mental aspect. And then when we select the athletes for the club, we focus on 3 different areas.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is character.
Mm-hmm.
And when I refer to character, is the mentality.
Yeah.
Yep.
How strong the athlete is, how is able to adapt to the difficulties, how overcomes adversity. The number 2 is the skills, whether if it's technical, tactical, physical.
Mm-hmm.
But we have as number 1 the character, so the mental part.
Yeah.
And number 3 that many times goes hand by hand with number 1, with the character, is the support.
Mm-hmm.
So if the athlete has the parents behind, if it's not the parents, it's the tutor,
Mm-hmm.
who is bringing the athlete to the training facility.
Yeah.
And support is not always being there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Support can be just giving time to breathe to the athlete,
Mm-hmm.
not putting pressure on him,
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
very important that when the athlete is facing these challenges, and it's no different than the first team, because I think fans sometimes forget that they are humans, right?
Mhm.
And they think that there are some superpowers, and they are like, but they need that help, that support, And when you work with professional athletes, I had the chance to work with 5 different world champions, and all of them, they needed help and support. Not only because they were world champions, they won the World Cup, they have this mental strength, yes, they have the experience, yes, they have the leadership capabilities, but they need the support.
Yeah.
And even more so the young athletes that we have in the academy,
Yeah, I feel like it's something that gets so lost in translation is, it's when you see professional athletes, you look at them and you're like, oh, wow. Like
Superhero.
superheroes. But then when something happens, when, they make a mistake, it's like, oh, how could they do that? It's like, we're all human. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. Like no one's shielded away from that. And so I think it's bringing that humanity back a little bit more, which I think it's been so difficult. I think especially, I honestly think it's just in general, but like it's why it's important, I think, to have those conversations, especially to bring it to the fold, because I think it's becoming more talked about, which is a great thing, I think, in the sport as a whole, because it needs to be more highlighted because of the way it can impact the way a game can play out and a player's mentality and how they get out of that struggle and how they can face the adversity and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting. In my newsletter this morning, I had a opening about it being 10 years since Johan Cruyff passed away. Mm-hmm. And the way that he saw the game, go out and enjoy it before the Champions League final. It feels like even before Tata came back to Atlanta, that Atlanta United, and a lot of it was your work and the academy's work and then Jose's work with the twos last year, to where it feels like that mentality of enjoy your game, enjoy the ball, enjoy the experience is all heading in the same direction. And Tata now amplifies that.
Yeah.
If somebody asked you to describe that Atlanta United way of playing, what an Atlanta United team should look like, if you walk in and you've never seen it, how would you describe what you want it to be, what you want to see?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's the question that I wanted to answer when I first came here, because you always listen to the press conferences and it's like, we want to be an attacking team. We want to be offensive. We want to be entertaining. All these things, but how does it really look like?
Yeah, you can do that a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I wanted, without coming with a page of back and forth things, I wanted to have 3 things that describe the way we play. And the number 1 is play fast and forward. Mm-hmm. I think with the profile of players that we have, fits very well in this kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is defending compact. So how we can be connected and act as a unit to regain quickly the possession of the ball. And number three is playing with intensity. And that means how we can keep the game in the attacking half, so we are not as exposed defensively, and we can capitalize on opportunities in the attacking half. So for that, we need to push higher the defensive line to halfway of the field. So I think these three different elements gives a more clear picture of how we want our teams to play.
It's funny, the process of, I think back to Cruyff and Guardiola, and how Cruyff had the idea and maybe didn't have the book behind it. And Pep comes in and kind of puts a structure to the idea and then makes it where you can replicate it a little bit. It kind of feels like that process has happened here in a way, where there was an ideal of attacking, exciting, entertaining, scoring a bunch of goals. Okay, now how do you structure that to get there?
Yeah.
And it feels like that's what your role is doing a lot of.
Yeah, correct. And then the other thing is to make it in a simplistic way. Right?
Yeah.
So what I ask, and I don't mandate every training session for the coaches, except in pre-season, that we cover certain topics, and then during the season they just modify those topics just to make sure that we give continuity to the team. But we have these 3 points for the style of play, and then 5 different principles defensive, 5 different principles offensive.
Okay.
And we work constantly on this. And as a matter of fact, coaches have laminated 2 pages, and these are the ones that on the bench they take a look and they correct constantly.
Yeah. I want to ask about the second team a little bit, because it's always fun, I think, for both of us when we get to call those games, seeing the mix of a lot of young players who are still trying to find their path, especially professionally, but then a lot of academy players getting the chance to step up and get the chance to do it. I mean, Didi's one that we had the chance to talk to earlier, and talking about his development still, and then Santiago Pita too, Jonathan Ransom. How do you find the balance of, helping develop those young academy guys as well, and then having the mix of a lot of those younger guys who are coming from college too and coming back and helping the team with the twos as well? And how does Jose, how does Jose kind of factor in with all that too?
Well, that's a great question. We that goes back to the point how we build the roster for the second team. And the way we build the roster is with 3 different types of players. Number one, we count on potentially which players they are going to come down from the first team, which is 5-6 players. And then we count on a number of players that we sign specifically for the second team, and they can be in and out with the first team. We have 13 signed contracted players for the second team. And then the rest of the players, they are coming from the academy. But the way we build the roster, we wanted to be self-sufficient. That means that even if the first team players, they don't come, we want to build a roster that is competitive, and they can get results in the MLS Next Pro.
Anything else?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good too. The last one I would ask would just be from the idea of a young coach out there who is kind of getting involved in this. And I think one cool thing about Atlanta United that we're starting to see, I think, is somebody like Lagos Kunga, who came to the academy at the very beginning, signed a first team deal, didn't play for the first team, but now he's started, as he's kind of still as a pro, but he started coaching, he started doing private training, stuff like that. What's the advice that you would give to a young coach who is trying to figure out who they are as a coach?
That's a great question. I was that young coach.
Yeah.
Number one, be ambitious, be passionate, and then put all the means that you can to become the best coach that you can. I started very early. I tried to be exposed at the highest level of the game. I was very fortunate that I was born in a country that I think soccer is everything from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. And I decided very early on, at the age 13, that that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I wanted to become a coach, you know. Probably mistakenly, because I think it's better if I think now you play the game for a longer period of time and then you coach. But I was extremely passionate about coaching, and that curiosity and almost disregarding what others think, because sometimes they might think that you are crazy just being why, because you have different times, because maybe at times particularly when you are starting, you are not financially compensated, like as opposed to other jobs, you know. And but eventually your work starts to show, and other people that they are in a more senior positions, they call you to help, and that's when you start to gather experience. And experience is very valuable in this sport, you know. And this is the way I think you have to start, you know, with basically betting on yourself.
Yeah.